Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Autobots, Decepticons, and you pussies who don't fight at all. I'm Kyle, and with me today I have Tom. Tom, say hello.
Hi, Internet. How you doing? I missed you.
And Nathan.
Hi, Internet. How's it going?
I don't think Nathan missed you at all.
Little bit.
Today we're doing something I have literally no experience with whatsoever until I read this comic today, so Tom, take it over.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, today we are talking about Transformers More Than Meets the Eye, the best science fiction story you don't know anything about. Basically, here's how it all starts. That war between the Autobots and Decepticons, that thing the whole franchise is built on, it's over. Why? It's complicated. The point is, it's over. All the other Transformers didn't fight her back. Everyone's mad. That's the setup. Let's begin. All right. So to start off, actually, this collection, we're talking about the first volume today. This collection's a one-shot called The Death of Optimus Prime, where obviously he doesn't really die, because why would you kill off your marquee star? But he comes to realize he has no place in this new Cybertronian society, again, full of angry people, and leaves. So let's start with that. You know, as an opening, what did you guys think of that opening?
I liked it. I was a little bit surprised. When I first read this series, I think, Tom, you were the one who gave it to me in, like, single issues to read.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that wasn't there. So
Right.
when I was like, oh, we're going to review Volume 1 of More Than Meets the Eye, I opened it up, and there was, like, the death of Optimus Prime. And I'm like, am I reading the right comic? But I thought that worked really well to frame it.
Mm-hmm.
Because before it was like, if you don't have that, you kind of come into the series, and it's a little bit of just like, what's going on? Why are things like this? Why is Rodimus going off into the sky? Kyle?
Yeah, no, that's exactly where I came in, because the version you sent me did not have the Death of Optimus Prime, so I come in and it's him floating above the ruins of Cybertron, and I'm like, okay, this isn't the little, the only thing I knew about Transformers before this episode, reading this comic, was like I had seen like 5 minutes of the Shia LaBeouf movies. I don't even know which movie I saw, and then
That's
like
okay,
I liked
we're all
it
the
that.
same.
That and no, because like one doesn't have Megan Fox for some reason, right? That's about the only
Yeah.
reason I was told to see it when I was younger.
Yeah.
And when I was a real little kid, it came on like after Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which I really enjoyed. So it was like, I guess I was such like the first 5 minutes of Transformers, and like I would change the channel because I don't know, the Adventures of Winnie the Pooh was on. So it was like, I had no clue what the hell I was getting involved in, and this comic is like, it's not at all what I expected. It was like politics meets like emotional depth meets like space zombies as we get later on.
Yep, space zombies.
So coming in dark was definitely a weird way to go into it, and like I said, there was a lot of like, you can tell something had like just happened because it's like, I don't know where I am, and then it's like, oh shit, we're about to go on like the Optimus, quest for enlightenment, and instead we get like, oh wait, no, there's the town. I found it. There's the town.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, the death of Optimus Prime. He's awake. He wakes up after all the crazy shit that's gone down and stuff that you can Google yourself. He's confused, and then he realizes what's happened. Turns out he's been gone for 3 weeks. So all the non-affiliated indigenous life forms, Nails, that is the
Nails.
Yeah, that is the Cybertronians who didn't fight in the war. They've all come back to Cybertron, and they don't like the fact that the Autobots are still in charge. So at the end, Optimus leaves, and we sort of get the setup for not only More Than Meets the Eye, but for its sister series, which used to be called Robots in Disguise, but is now just called The Transformers, because there's a cartoon by that name airing that's totally different and is in no way related to an anime of the same name from over a decade ago, which is how I first got into the franchise. Welcome to Transformers. It eats its own tail. A lot.
The thing that struck me is like...
Yeah.
the thing that struck me is like, the Nails hate everybody. Like, and I guess kind of so, because they're like, we didn't want to fight this war anyway. We just wanted to live on Cybertron. And now there's, like, just wreckage on Cybertron. you guys probably shouldn't be here anyway, and there's more of us than you, so shove off. And obviously the Autobots are not jiving with that.
Right.
Time for what we're going to call Kyle Dives Too Deep into a Stupid Series. It's going to be a new segment we're going to do. And I like to think that the nails represent the millennials who didn't fight in any war but still feel like they're owed something.
Well,
okay, then. We are
wanna...
either going to get a flood of the elderly who are like, yeah, those darn millennials, or a bunch of angry millennials like ourselves who are like, come on, I want to talk about comics.
I mean, more fans of this are like our age than senior citizens, I would assume.
I'm just saying. That's the vibe I got. It's like they didn't do anything, but now they feel like they're owed a planet, which I mean I understand. I understand.
Yeah. And I mean, as the series goes on, and as sort of this story unfolds, you learn a bit more about the positions of the nails and like where they come from and stuff. Like eventually, you're gonna meet a character called Windblade shows up. She's a fighter jet lady who is badass, and she's also a nail, but she's a bit different. But she basically sort of comes into this completely blind, and is sort of left picking the ruins of a war that she didn't really know anything about. What was interesting, especially with the death of Optimus Prime and the rest of the story, which I promise we're going to talk about. Kyle, you brought up in the chat, in our Facebook chat today, as we were reading this, that you were talking about, that you got a lot of Game of Thrones vibe out of it, and I was thinking about, now, I'm only a show watcher, not a book reader. Sorry, everybody. But that did remind me a lot of that show's first season. There's this sort of setup you're just dropped into, and then gradually you sort of pick up, oh, this big crazy thing happened. Here's everybody trying to deal with the aftermath. I don't know. Did you guys kind of get that vibe?
I think it makes sense. Good, Kyle.
Well, that was good. It's like when I said the Game of Thrones thing, it wasn't like the whole like figure out the world as you go sort of thing. Because if you are a book reader, then like it's like here's the world on the first page, and then you sort of like dive in after that. What I was getting of it is like I feel bad for the kids who are buying these toys because like if you bought like a set, and, like okay, pick your favorite. Ooh, I want the Duo Bots. Spoiler alert. Or oh, I want the this guy. Or oh, I want that guy. And it's like, well, by issue 7, they have had their heart ripped out or fused into a hole or like they have been.
Do not stand by the crazy device when it goes to mess with the laws of physics.
Whatever it is, man. Go ahead, Nate.
I would say rule of flight number 1: do not stand by the crazy things when it messes with physics.
That's.
Well, and like, I guess kind of like you were saying, Tom. I guess it kind of makes sense, and like if you're talking about that end aspect of like calling it Game of Thrones vibe might put off the wrong idea, but to say that it's like you definitely have this vibe of it's like, okay, here is the world, here, like, you're dropped here. We're gonna give you the rules as we go. Certain things I hope are just easily established. They're Transformers. They have alternate modes, but a lot of this is not about them. Optimus Prime, or as he chooses to become after the one-shot, Orion Pax,
which is his original name.
Yeah, doesn't turn into like a truck just cause. Like. Which I guess like the TV shows, they want to market that, and they want to market toys and that, so that's a lot more of a thing. One thing I liked in the one shot, and then maybe we can move on to the actual like More Than Meets the Eye series, is that it puts up the disagreement and the difference between Bumblebee and Rodimus Prime. Bumblebee wants to stay on Cybertron, wants to have all the Cybertronians, united together. Let's make a better world. Let's pick up the pieces. And Rodimus is like, no, there's nothing. We need to reclaim our heritage. We need to go find the Knights of Cybertron. I'm going out here. Like, it's like realist versus idealist kind of a thing.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, let's. Yeah, so does anybody have any other thoughts on the death of Optimus Prime, or should we move on to the main story?
Let us move.
All right. So moving on to More Than Meets the Eye proper, which I should have said this up top. Forgive me, but Death of Optimus Prime, written by James Roberts and John Barber, drawn by Nick Roche. More Than Meets the Eye, written solely by James Roberts. First issue is drawn by Nick Roche, and the rest are drawn by Alex Milne, and all issues are colored by Josh Burcham, who, FYI, is awesome in person if you ever get to know him. So basically, it starts out like Nate said, Rodimus, who, if you remember, if anybody out there remembers the 1986 animated movie, was called Hot Rod and voiced by the bully from The Breakfast Club. He decides, we need to go find the Knights of Cybertron, and they will lead us into this golden age. And so he enlists a whole bunch of Transformers of all kinds to.
I thought it was like a volunteer thing. Like it was like, hey, who wants to go to Mars?
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, it is an army of volunteers. Sorry, I misspoke there. But yeah, so basically they leave, and the whole first issue is setting up the leaving, setting up the character tensions, meeting people like Chrome Dome and Rewind, who are the world's best robot gay couple. Sorry, they are. It's a fact. And people like Swerve, who is very short, and his nickname at the Academy was "Shut the hell up."
Hey man, his weapon of choice is his mouth.
I love Swerve so much. But yes,
he wants to set up a bar.
He doesn't want to. He does set up a bar in the ship, but yeah, at the end of the first issue, what happens is, they're launching. It's a whole big thing, and then all of a sudden, boom! It looks like, the Challenger disaster. Ships exploded when really the quantum jump part of their engines has kickstarted before they were supposed to. So now they're just somewhere in the galaxy somewhere. Whole breaches in the ship. Tons of Autobots fall to the ground. Tons of Autobots fall out of the ship. They land on a planet, and basically that's where we get it. It's this big. They set off on this impossible quest, and now they're thrown into this impossible scenario. And in short order, you get to know people like Tailgate, who is an Autobot who's been asleep for 6 million years due to various reasons. Cyclonus, who is a non-affiliated Transformer, but formerly on the side of evil, who's friggin' nuts. And Whirl, who is even more insane. Technically an Autobot, but just loves killing people.
Whirl was part of this subset, I believe, Tom can correct me if I'm wrong, of the Autobots called the Wreckers.
Yes.
Which I believe, if there is any sort of Black Ops level of Autobot,
yep,
that is them.
Force X.
Yeah, that's basically what they are. They're the X-Force of the Autobots.
Well, yeah, and it's I think I read it a while back. It's been a while, but there's a volume or trade called Last Stand of the Wreckers, which is good, but also, you were talking about Game of Thrones level stuff in this, Kyle. That gets even more, because that is all just almost like that game Halo Reach, where it's this is not ending well. It's just a matter of, what happens until we get there.
Yeah. Last Stand of the Wreckers, which, yes, you should definitely read, is not necessarily a prequel to what goes on in More Than Meets the Eye, but it does share the same creators, has a bit of the same tone, and yeah, it's brutal stuff. But it's great.
But we digressed.
Yes. That aside, so basically, Kyle?
Yeah, I was gonna say just not go too far into plot synopsis, but if anybody hasn't any interest, if they're like me, they have no interest in the Transformers. They're like, oh yeah, I saw this crappy Shia LaBeouf movie, and I remember them from when I was a kid, and they have no clue what this is. This is so not what you're expecting at all. This is vibes of these could have been all just some random blue aliens and be doing the same exact thing. These could be some guys with knights and armors and wizards, and they could be doing the same exact thing, traveling in a carriage somewhere. This is a sci-fi spaghetti western style travel through space, and it's a traveling story. It has nothing to do with
Tour-day realm story.
Exactly, and it's this is what happens on the travels of the starship. What is their ship called?
The Lost Light.
The Lost Light, yeah.
The Lost Light. This is this is a sci-fi, not a sci-fi manga or a sci-fi whatever it is. So I mean, like, I really didn't give it enough credit, and like the quality is insane. Like, it's like normally like these things are like, oh, I'm grim dark and the world is doomed, or oh, it's like a lighthearted comedy. This is like scary and funny and emotional, and like it has a lot going on, which is. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to just spill everything, but like, can I say this comic is more than meets the eye?
Yeah. But yeah, Nate, did you have? I know you're not. I know I've been guiding you into the world in which I've chosen to live. But like, did you have the same thoughts when you first read MTMTE?
Okay, first off, that makes me sound like I'm sort of like your comic book nerd Padawan, which is kind of funny. But, kinda. I will say, like I said, there's a lot of really good stuff here. It's not what you'd expect. If you just watch the Michael Bay Transformers movies, you're gonna have to sit through some good amount of other things before you even get to the punching. Kyle messaged us in the group chat this afternoon and was like, "Okay, seriously, do they get to blasting things and fighting? I didn't expect politics." And part of like Kyle was
negotiating with Senator Ratbat, was that it?
Oh, that's if you want to see more of Senator Ratbat, you got to read Robots in Disguise.
Of course, there's more.
Yep. Well, it's the sister series. But part of me feels like this is as good as it is because, and my Transformers experience is limited, but it's not just that it's a good Transformers story. Like Kyle kind of said, it's a good sci-fi story.
Oh yeah.
The story itself is good enough and interesting enough, and then you add in elements of the Transformers and all different kinds of the personalities. I will say, so in a way, I think that's kind of a nice thing, and I almost say it's a pretty decent jumping in point because, like, I think you'd have a easier time, though there is a sort of quota you got to get caught up on some of the stuff to understand it, but like, it's going to be easier to figure out what's going on, at least in More Than Meets the Eye, than if you were to say jump in the middle of the Autobot Decepticon war. Besides the fact that there is a war. That being said, there's a lot of characters, which is a benefit, and at the same time, sometimes not.
Yeah, I know, Kyle, you had some trouble with identifying everybody.
Well, there's like a lovely thing at the end of the book that says like, hey, this is who everyone is, and normally you get those at the beginning of like most X-Men comics. They'll be like, these are the guys who are going to be in this issue today. You know what I'm saying? And then you go from there. This one puts it at the end, and then like looking at it, it's like these are not like this is like. And the thing about it is like my experience with Transformers is it was a vehicle to sell toys. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah,
and that was like
exactly what it is.
Well, that's what it was. Because reading this, it's like the character we've got like Romulus, who's like your leader style character who wants find fortune and glory on the highest. He's basically he's not Jack Sparrow because he's way more conniving and politicky than that. But he is that character. You've got his right hand man who's the gun who doesn't know what he's doing, and you've got Whirl, the psychotic guy in the basement with the sharpening knives on the pirate ship. You know what I'm saying? Like you have a bunch of like really like traditional characters. Like these are guys who you've pulled out of like your English class. I mean, then you've got Swerve, the ancient robot who doesn't know. He's like comic relief style, but not really. Rung, the team doctor. Like these are such like it's like I hate to like go back to things that I know, but it's like this is a D&D party. What am I looking at here? Like this is such like a Lord of the Rings style quest for the knights. Like
right. Like yeah, like to me, I always liken it to, especially in comparison to Robots in Disguise, I liken this to, if Robots in Disguise is Deep Space Nine, which has there's a lot of politics, a lot of intrigue, then More Than Meets the Eye is Star Trek Voyager, but if Voyager was good.
Hey, you didn't compare it to Enterprise, so it's already got a couple points up at least.
Oh no, we compare the Dreamwave era to Enterprise. Only 5 people are gonna get that, and you're welcome. But But yeah, I'll definitely say this, as somebody who, like I said, has been a fan for a long time, and when the series was coming out in 2012, I knew what its broader scheme was. Just to back up a bit, this was part of Phase 2 of IDW Publishing's line of Transformers comics, which they had all the way to like slightly before the first Michael Bay movie came out, and that, and the way that worked was that was a whole bunch of related miniseries that sort of combined together with a bunch of one-shots, and then there was an ongoing, and then there was some more miniseries, and there was another ongoing. It was a really confusing, long story, and with Phase 2, they said, okay, here's our really crazy status quo. We're just going to have these two directions, and More Than Meets the Eye is honestly the standout of the two, because, like you said, yeah, it's just, you have all these great characters, and the fact that you're reading a licensed comic book really doesn't, it doesn't change your perception of the story,
Well, that's what I was saying. Is at the very beginning, it's sort of like it was jarring how quickly it switched, because I'm thinking I'm getting like ready for like this, big traditional. Here's Optimus Prime going on a journey, to find this city, and like it changes because I didn't realize that the Death of Optimus Prime was included. I thought like the PDF I got.
Yeah.
So like to read through that, it was like, oh, Optimus Prime, I recognize that. That's something I recognize, and then it's like very quickly it goes from like this big post-war, what are we going to do? Who's in charge? These big emotional things, like pirate ship fun time, and the strength of this is pirate ship fun time. That is the strength of this book, is that like you are with your friend, not your friends, but you're with this ragtag group of characters on a voyage to somewhere else, and like don't get discouraged if you're like me the first time. Like if you're reading this like and because of you saw this video, or if you're reading this because of you read it because one of your friends, I empathize with you having to read the first bit, because it's like you think the Optimus Prime big deal story would be the good part of the story, but like it's not. I want to go hang out with Rhombus. What was his name? Rodimus. Excuse me, my Transformers tongue is not developed yet. I want to go hang out with Rodimus. That dude's fucking awesome. Well, he's not awesome, but he's at least interesting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tom. I'm sorry. I keep interrupting you to tell me how much I enjoy this. Go ahead, Nate. Sorry.
Okay, if we're talking about things I love. I love Skids and Swerve as like a pair together. Because like, and that's an interesting thing too. Like Skids being like, the whole everyone gets thrown out of the ship, lands on this planet, the Lost Light, lands to find everybody, and then you meet Tailgate, who's pretty cool, and then you also meet Skids, and he doesn't really remember anything about himself, but he gets into this gigantic fight with this like, I don't know, zombie con transformer thing. It's big, bad, and orange.
And the thing about Skids is he's not on the ship to begin with. His ship just ploops right out of the sky as soon as the Lost Light lands, and you literally start to meet him as he meets himself, because he wakes up with total amnesia, and he's like trying to recall himself. My name's Scum. Wait, why is my name Scum? And he's like, oh no, wait, it's Skids. I'm crashing. Oh shit.
I love when Swerve meets him, because he's just totally like beats the shit out of this crazy thing that's going after him, and which in this awesome scene on like page 68, I believe it is, and then they're like the three other Autobots who are there are like, wow, like times like this, I'm glad to have a camera bolted to my head. I forget who that is. I think Rewind. And then they're like, and then Swerve is like, nice moves. Who are you? An ex-wrecker? One of the Warriors Elite and an old pit fighter? And Swerve's like, I'm a theoretician. And it's like, it's just such this like not thing you're expecting. And then Swerve sort of makes them buddies. He's like, we're gonna be buddies now. Come on, think about it. Skids and Swerve.
I'll say one thing, and I've written about this elsewhere. There is an official soundtrack. It's on Spotify. It's great. Everyone has character themes and stuff. Like Rodimus's theme song is "I've Got a Plan." The theme song of the series is.
Why did you not share this with me before I saw this? Because that would have been awesome to read this with it.
What is this called? I'm Spotifying now to try to find this.
Oh, it's just called if you go to my profile, I believe it's under MTMTE soundtrack.
Either way, just give me the link and I'll put it in the YouTube show notes.
Right. Yep.
Please
and
do.
yeah, and the thing about the soundtrack, which that Spotify link hasn't been updated in a long time. Basically, that's part of the whole. I don't want to say cult, but more like a following around the series. Is James Roberts, the writer? He tweets out 2 or 3 songs that inspire every issue, and basically you get to these songs and they sort of, people sort of parse through the songs and their lyrics to try and see, okay, like what's going to happen in the issue, what's going on, this, it's a very, really savvy strategy, honestly. But yeah, another thing I want to talk about is the art, because, if you've seen any of those Michael Bay movies, it is hard, and yeah, it can still be hard sometimes, to tell a bunch of giant robots apart. And Alex Milne, the main artist, in my opinion, he does a great job at making all these guys really seem human and and distinct, and they all have their own personalities independent of their dialogue, which I think is really interesting.
It gets better as the book goes on, and as I started learning the characters. If you're like an old Transformers pro, maybe you can tell them apart. I couldn't at the beginning. I'm like, oh yeah, that's the red one, but now his helmet's yellow, so is that just light, or is that this?
Mm-hmm.
But the reason it felt so bad in the beginning is it's like people are dying, and I don't know who's dying, so I don't know how to feel about that.
Am I supposed to care?
Exactly, and like if you're someone who's reading this for the first time, or like it's like don't really care. Don't. I mean, just know that death is happening, and then as you start to get attached to people, that's when you can start to. Because even they seem comfortable with it. Like even like the captain's like, yeah, we lost 3 people. That kind of sucks. All right, who's next?
Well, yeah. I mean, you got to remember they're coming off of literally millennia of war. So these guys have seen a lot of people die. A lot.
I have to say that's got to be one of my favorite moments with Rodimus Prime in this book. It's on page 70. It's like Drift and Ultra Magnus. Is that his?
Yep.
Okay, so he's talking to Drift and Ultra Magnus, and he's like, "What should I tell them? I don't know what to tell them." And Ultra Magnus is like, "Tell them the truth. Tell them we're lost. Tell them we lost people." And Rodimus is like, "I see why you're not a public speaker." And then Drift, who's all like spiritual and good vibes, is like, tell them we saved everybody, and virtually, all of the Autobots are fine. And he's like, and we had a bit of a problem, but it's just a slight setback. And Rodimus is like, I think I'll go with a mixture of depressingly gloomy and oppressively upbeat, thanks, guys. It's just... and then you have the great moments of Swerve saying they should be called the Crusader Cons.
Yes, I think about that speech a lot. The war's over. It's time to reclaim the suffix. Swerve sounds like JonTron. I don't know.
Dude, we need to do like the radio show. Because that just sounds... JonTron and Swerve fits a little bit too well.
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
See,
I wish I didn't.
Now I'm just thinking of like various Game Grumps people and seeing who they would be in what spot. I think Danny from Game Grumps is wrong. But I also like the fact that like we had this first big problem of okay, people got thrown from the ship, and then just as things are settling down, and Rodimus is like, hey, we're gonna get through this, and it's okay. We lost some people, but it's okay. Red Alert calls him up and goes, by the way, we have a Spark Eater, a cannibal machine thingy that eats the life force, the spark, of Cybertronians.
And so also causes them to vomit their brains out.
It's a one-hit kill space zombie. Call it what it is.
I was just going to say, he said vomit your brains out, and us would be like you do. Which, and I liked a number of the, how the Spark Eater's drawn. I like, yeah, this is where you get kind of like Kyle was saying, some of this Game of Thrones, like people are just dying brutally.
Yep.
And there's a panel in here when it what's his name? Is it Chrome Dome who can do the mind thingy?
Yeah, Chrome Dome, who basically he has the power to see into people's minds with his fingers, which are syringes. It's a thing.
Yep. Again, like you do.
Yep.
And I like how it's on like page 80, I think. There's this drawing of the memory, but it's drawn but not really colored, or it's like this like greenish kind of penciled.
Yeah, it's very sketchy.
And I liked that. That was really cool to me.
No, I had the fear when I started of like, is this like going to be super childish? Because I mean, there is a scene in the end where it's like, oh no, I've lost. What's the guy in the like that he's in the ground? He's like, he lost his legs, and like any other thing that'd be like a serious thing, like I've lost my legs, I'm trapped under a wreckage, and it's like, no, you're a robot, it's cool, we'll just pick you up, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like it manages.
That's Tailgate. He gets carried to a place.
Tailgate is
like
adorable and precious.
It's hard to have like it's the thing about the Autobot thing, the robot thing, is it's like they allow you to have moments that in like a real TV show or a real life or with humans would be like terrifying. Like this man is trapped. And it's like we can laugh about it here because he's a robot and he'll be fixed, no problem. There's a part at the end where he where I'm sorry, I forgot his name, Rodimus. Like finally catches the bad guy and he like shoves him into the wall and like he loses his hands trying to save the ship. It's like, oh, I lost my hands. I guess I'll have some new ones come next page. You know what I'm saying? So it allows you to like have these serious moments, but like never feel too attached. But also like people can die. It's like they die and it's not that big of a deal because it's like they just came out in the Centuries of War, like you said. So it's like it's in any other genre this would be unbelievably dark humor, but in Transformers it's like, oh, gotta reboot the computer.
Right. Yeah, and I'll just say, as someone who is now I'm pretty behind, but I've read the majority of this book. You know, that dark humor, that strain kind of persists because Roberts is a British writer, so comes with the territory. And essentially, that humor does persist, and as we do see, and the last two issues of this first trade, 5 and 6, involve Ratchet, Ship's Medic, and a couple other Drift, the hippie guy, and another character, Pipes, Rip Pipes. They wind up going to basically a crazed hospital ward and dealing with a crazy surgeon.
Oh yeah, that's good.
That gets pretty brutal because you see what basically the Black Death is like to robots, and it's scary. It's some scary business.
Yeah, having read that later issue after this volume, it is very weird and creepy. And you wouldn't think so, because like Kyle said, no, it's Transformers, it's robots, we'll just slap a new arm on them, but it's like crazy decay.
Yeah.
I like the Spark Eater thing. It's an interesting threat. It makes claustrophobia is a bigger thing then, because it can just get through the doors, and at one point Skid saves Rung, who no one remembers his name right.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, congratulate. He's like, oh, and then Rodimus is like, oh, I have a plan. Why don't you just bring Rung over here and we'll use him as bait? And then Skid is like, congratulations, you're bait. And then there's a great line of, we have to go down this elevator shaft, says Skids. And Rung's like, how come you get a grappling hook? All I get is a thumb with a microphone in it. But then at the end, it's like Rodimus's plan to stop the Spark Eater is just using Rung as bait, and then kind of like how one of the Cybertronians got stuck inside the crazy quantum jump thingy.
Rip Ore.
Yeah, the quantum generator. He just does that too, and he takes the Spark Eater and shoves it into the quantum generator as they are taking off, and thus losing his hands. But I like how Ultra Magnus totally calls him on his shit, because he's like, oh, I'm doing good, and he's like, what you did? He's like, yeah, I know. No guts, no glory. It was great, right? And Ultra Magnus is like, it was completely stupid. And I know
he's
like,
a good straight man. He's also a big ass badass toy. Like I want to own an Ultra Magnus toy. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Quick side story. I have one of the few Transformers from the original Robots in Disguise line I don't own is an Ultra Magnus. I've wanted him forever. It makes me sad. So
well, and like, you see the links to your Amazon wish list in the chat, Tom. You're gonna have to show way more cleavage. I don't think we're fans are that loyal.
Not yet.
Maybe bring that dog back up. Maybe that'll get some hearts to fall in love with you. And
Buy things for
he's looking
Tom
for the
for
fucking dog. I was joking, Tom.
No, he's asleep right now. So
Fantastic.
yeah.
So like we're saying, it's a super like if you're like me, it's a super funny comic. There's a lot of like fun little it's a little like I said, pirate ship or space adventure type thing, but it's like way more humorous. It has its moments. It's not just happy go lucky. Your seventh grader's gonna like this, like your 7-year-old's gonna like this. Like no, there's robots getting the crap kicked out of them. Super enjoyable. And then they're willing to poke fun at themselves. Like there's a part where it's like, what's your power? Oh, I turn into a USB like stick. Like that's my superpower. I turn on a memory stick. What's your power? Oh, I have a microphone. Meanwhile, you've got Ultra Magnus with giant fucking rockets everywhere. So they're willing they understand how preposterous it is, but they find a way to make it work. It's not too difficult to suspend your disbelief. I really enjoyed it. I can't really give it a number rating because it's like this is right up my alley, even though I didn't think it would be because I love my my little D&D adventures in space. Nate, what were your final thoughts?
Well, I was going to say, to back up a little bit, and then I'll give my final thoughts. I really like the character of Tailgate, because he's kind of like, I don't know what the technical term is. It's like he's kind of like the reader in that he's coming into a lot of this cold. He's been asleep for 6 million years. And in a lot of ways, he's kind of like a kid in the whole struggle thing, because he doesn't know about Autobots and Decepticons. And then Cyclonus, the former Decepticon, tells him the story of Autobots and Decepticons, but with a very skewed view towards Decepticons as like liberators, and the Autobots as
oppressors.
Or not even oppressors, just like those who didn't want to change. So then, that influences Tailgate, and then there's repercussions for I know it's. Allegiances shouldn't matter, but I've made my decision. And then
Swerve. Swerve is a little one. Tailgate's the guy who misses his legs.
I know. Yeah, it's Tailgate. Swerve is the guy who owns the bar and laughs. Tailgate's the one that.
I'm even the name mixed up. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's cool. But yeah, I'd read part of the series before. Reading it again, I kind of agree with Kyle. You do kind of got to get used to how the characters are drawn. You do have to get used to that. I will say, for having an artist changeover after an issue or two, I didn't really even notice much of a difference. So until Tom told me that, I didn't know. Which speaks to the quality of the art, that it's like a seamless transition.
Yep. Roche and Milne are geniuses. I don't know why they haven't won more awards.
Yeah, and Tom alerted me a number of months back that Humble Bundle was doing like a giveaway of the first, what is it, like six volumes of the series. So that was kind of nice, and I look forward to going on and seeing what more is going on. I will say, as someone who's read this volume and then tried to read later ones and kind of walked away, if you're jumping into like mid-volume, like 2 or 3, it's going to take a lot of time to catch back up and remember what happened, because there's not really a like previously on more than meets the eye.
I'll say this, as someone who has been a fan of this particular franchise for a long time and has seen it through some incredible lows. Shia LaBeouf, god damn it.
It's no worse than Megan Fox, dude.
No, yeah, that's fair. But yeah, as someone who has seen a lot of versions of this story, this is my favorite. Regrettably, I'm quite behind at the moment, but I really want to catch back up. I love this story. I love how Roberts and Milne have taken these characters and what they've done with them. It's just it's a wonderful story in the making. And like Kyle said, if they were to do something like this with just like totally original characters, I think it would be just as great. So yeah, I love this. As a diehard, this is my favorite Transformers anything of anything. Even better than animated, and I love animated. But yeah, so So yeah, so now that that's over, I believe we are doing our final segment, right? Read, watch, or play. Yep.
Or yeah.
Yep. All right. Who wants to go first on that one?
Nate, you might be doing something more interesting than me.
All right. I'll just say something I've been playing lately a bunch. I never actually finished the Mass Effect trilogy, so a week or two ago I got it on. Got all three games and have been playing through them. I've always liked the series, and it's just a nice thing to kind of get distracted by occasionally, but also a good story, and also kind of go to that space theme. So that's what I've been playing a bunch.
I just watched, what was it, X-Men Apocalypse. We had very different opinions on that, so that might turn into an episode at some point. And play-wise, I reinstalled Brutal Doom, the Doom with the Brutal Doom mod. And it's a little bit of it takes a little bit of work. You can't be computer retarded, but if you can get that going, it is a blast.
What do you sorry, can you explain Brutal Doom a little bit?
So imagine like a programmer who has like actual skills in making a computer, do good stuff, like an actual video game programmer, and a psychotic 4-year-old with a panache for blood and violence met together and said like, let's make a video game and let's just build off of Doom. So like, there's only a button to flip off your opponents, like. It's insanely gory. Like there's a bunch of guns. It's like way more. It uses mouse so you can look up and down and left and right and diagonal, like you could do in the original Doom. It's basically Doom upgraded for people who have it, who have played a recent video game.
Okay. The original.
I don't have a system good enough to run Doom 4 or whatever the new Doom is. Yeah. So I use that to like sort of like I kind of want a Doom vibe. I kind of want to kick a zombie in the face and blow its head off with a shotgun. So that's what I'm playing.
Oh, cool. All right, yeah, as for me, I've been reading a lot of Marvel Unlimited lately, which is Marvel's standalone subscription service, a digital thing. And in addition to a lot of X-Men stuff like Wolverine and Nightcrawler, both of which are great, I've been reading Golden Age Captain America comics, like the very, very early stuff, because I'm weird and this is what I like.
Punching Hitler in the face old?
Punching Hitler in the face old, yep.
Wow. Okay.
And yeah, it is. It's bonkers. I mean, it's so weird. There's a lot, and I do mean a lot of racism. So much racism. In the second issue, they fight giants from the east who cannot be killed. So look at it. So take that huge grain of salt going in. Racism accounted for, these comics are still they're a goofy blast, and there's just so much fun to tear through.
My Golden Age knowledge is off, but I have a question. Do they do anything as zany as chopping a globe in half with a sword? I saw that one time in a Golden Age cover of Batman and Superman, and it just made my day.
No,
Captain America Nazi repellent? Like, is that what you mean?
No.
Well, it's like there's so many like zany things in Golden Age things where it's like, or their covers are so ridiculous sometimes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean there's let me see, the craziest thing I've seen is one of the backup features is this dude named Hurricane, who is basically the Flash mixed with like the Greek god Mercury, but he's also an angel and he's also Zeus. So he like saves people from like not the Aztecs, and then just like turns into a giant, blows everything the hell up. And the devil is called Pluto. It's very much throw shit at the wall, who cares what's happening, see what sticks. It's so freewheeling and crazy.
The 7-year-olds will buy it with their bubblegum money.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, so super racist, but a lot of fun. Golden Age Captain America, check it out.
That was like a time when like you could just walk to a library, pick up like the biggest book on the shelf, and just steal everything out of it. Like just Pluto, that looks cool. Oh, yep, Satan, yep, that sounds great. And Mercury, he gets big, cool. We'll steal all those powers, just turn into a bad guy real quick.
Yeah, essentially.
All right then. So we'll do this. Yeah, for Reelz Radio, this has been Kyle.
I'm Nate.
This has been Tom. Till all are one.
Till all are one. All right, talk to you guys later.
Later, everybody.